any 3 tips you'd like to give to younger girls to prevent PCOD?
Number of eggs start to get formed, but none of them mature. So they have to reach a certain size to be the ripe egg so that it can get fertilized.
A lot of people are considering assisted reproductive technologies like IVF. What are the ethical considerations to be taken care of?
I had a patient who had a semen was not up to the mark. Now, through the ART, they had a baby, and the baby was there, and now they should be a happy couple with a family. But the husband, it had stuck in his mind that his sperm was not up to the mark, and maybe it is not his biological child.
Welcome to Prega Talks, a podcast where we break myths around women's health and pregnancy. And today we have with us a very eminent personality in the field of medicine. She's a gynecologist and laparoscopic surgeon. She is a Padma Shri awardee and she has remarkably contributed in the field of medicine. And it is such a pleasure to have Dr. Malvika Sabharwal with us here. Welcome to Prega Talks, Dr. Malvika Sabharwal. Thank you so much, firstly, for joining us here. And today we exclusively talk about PCOD and infertility.
Thank you so much for inviting. I must congratulate Mankind for having organized this wonderful topic for today's podcast because it's something which we see so commonly in the OPD. And I think it is something which we should definitely touch upon.
So, ma'am, could you please explain us what is PCOD?
So PCOD is generally a dyshormonal pattern which we see in women of reproductive health. And this age is the one right from adolescent till the time the periods stop. You can see it at any time. There are genetic factors, there are dyshormonal patterns, and also some lifestyle changes which are the main causes for this. Normally in a patient, there is one uterus, 2 ovaries and 2 tubes. So mid-cycle is the time when each ovary works. Once the left side will form the egg, which will be released at the mid-cycle time and gets picked up and gets fertilized. Then alternate month, it will be the right side. So it keeps happening one after the other. But in a PCOD, number of eggs start to get formed, but none of them mature. So they have to reach a certain size to be the ripe egg so that it can get fertilized. So none of them are forming eggs. You will have something like a pearl necklace in the ovary. And this is the form which gets reported on the ultrasound. This is the main feature wherein there is no egg formation and you may have anovulation. It's not that it's always going to be anovulatory, but it does have anovulation. The other thing is that there are androgens that get secreted. Now, these androgens normally also get secreted by the ovaries, but in a PCOD case, they get secreted at a higher level. And these cause acne, hirsutism, which affects the facial hair and the body hair. It can cause male pattern of baldness. They'll have scanty hair in the forehead. So that also gets affected. These girls may put on weight. And if they make efforts, they will not be able to shed the weight. This is the major problem that is seen in such cases.
What are the symptoms one can look out for?
So mostly girls report with simple symptom of having irregular periods or scanty periods. They may have long periods of amenorrhea. Amenorrhea means no periods. They may miss out the period. Then the other thing they say is that we are putting on weight. And all the efforts that they make to lose weight, they are not able to lose weight. That's another very pertinent problem that they face. They may have acne on the face. They may have facial hair, which also is there on the body, so which troubles them. Then they may also come out with male pattern baldness. They're losing hair and they're feeling that they cannot get it back. So that kind of leads on to having body shaming and all that stuff. And then they come to the hospital, report to the doctor as to sometimes, a girl is married and she doesn't realize that, she's a PCOS, but she will give a thing that she's not able to conceive. A simple thing like infertility, she may report to. And when they come to you, you can just see the clinical faces and you can make out this looks like a PCOS case.
Okay, so ma'am, you just mentioned about PCOS. So there is a confusion between PCOD and PCOS. What is exactly the difference and why and how one can differentiate between it?
To tell you clearly, whenever the ultrasound report comes to us, the ultrasonologist is just supposed to say this is polycystic ovarian morphology. That is PCOM. So that is reported by the ultrasonologist. But when you see the patient as a whole, you see that what is the problem that you're looking at, right from the overweight to the other factors like hormones are tested. And then after testing all that, we label them as most now. See, these two words were interchangeable to begin with, but now when you see the whole spectrum, you have started to label them as PCOS. So PCOD is something which we were using earlier, but now we use the nomenclature of PCOS. But having said that, we always thought when PCOS started to come in that PCOD was a milder form wherein it has got certain problems, but everything, the whole spectrum is not completely there. So it is more reversible as compared to PCOS. But nowadays, presently, we are just using the terminology of PCOS, wherein the ovaries have got multiple follicles, like I explained earlier.
Right. And ma'am, is it an area of concern during pregnancy if one is suffering from PCOD or PCOS, as you say?
Well, normally they say that in a PCOD case, it'll be difficult to conceive, but 30% of them may just conceive. And it is amazing. The first thing that you tell to a young girl who's not conceiving is that just lose your 5% of your weight. Any loss of weight in a young girl, even 5 to 10% of weight will result in a spontaneous conception without doing anything much.
And how do we prevent PCOD? Because these days, a lot of teenage girls are also going through it.
That is because, we must give them a good, parents and the teachers both should give a lot of effort in giving them nutrition value. So, what is a good nutrition they should know? Nutritious food they should be, knowing and having regularly rather than having junk food. Everybody is ordering from Zomato, etc., etc. But that is not something which we advise at all. So, simple habits of having, ghiya tori, what you eat, vegetables, fruits, pulses, lean meat, all these things, making sure that your lifestyle is managed in a proper way of a good diet and exercise. Exercise has to be inculcated by all young children and going on to becoming, at puberty, etc., etc., and going on in the age. One very important thing I would like to tell you, Swati, is that once, I remember this patient coming to me, the mother coming to me with a young girl, saying that this girl, my daughter, has got PCOD. But basically, if she's only 16, 17, and she started her periods at maybe 14 or 13, we don't we don't advise them to have an ultrasound done. We don't even give any importance to that PCOM, which gets reported by the ultrasonologist, because you can have for 8 years following a menarche. Menarche means the start of periods. You may get a report of multiple eggs, but they don't have to be bothered about. You just tell a young child to be on at it, that you maintain your weight, you have good eating habits, and you do not, these days people are just sticking on to becoming a couch potato. So that is something which is not advocated at all. Acha, one very important thing, Swati, is that PCOM, once diagnosed, is going to stay with you. So you must make it clear to all the young girls that this PCOM is going to be staying, it's going to be your best friend, and learn how to tackle it throughout your life. As you get pregnant in subsequent years, as you're going older, it's very important that they understand that when they are getting pregnant, they have to manage, because they are the ones who are candidates who will land up having diabetes. They are more prone for sugars, having diabetes. And in a later age, even when the family is complete, it is very important to know that they are the ones who can land up having, hyperplasia means the activity of the uterus from inside, the endometrium can go hyperplastic,
Right.
and resulting even in cancers. The incidence of cancer is more, the incidence of hyperplasia of the uterine lining, which is called the endometrium, is more. So it is important that they should understand right from the beginning as to what they are in for. And also we encourage them, do not delay pregnancy. So early marriage, we counsel them for early marriage and early pregnancies. And if they don't get pregnant, we also tell them to have early ovulation induction, and also use ovulation induction, and also use these kits to know what is the fertile period, and to plan a pregnancy early.
So, Dr. Sabharwal, any 3 tips you'd like to give to younger girls to prevent PCOD?
Well, that's a very good thing and a very important point to share. the first and foremost would be for lifestyle management, in which comes two things. One is diet. They must be aware of what a good nutritious diet is. One should be in the knowledge, not to be having junk food all the time, because you see a lot of young girls who are just ordering food from Zomato, etc., and having that. And also exercise. Now, exercise can be something which the parents and the teachers should help them inculcate into their day-to-day life. Now, a girl who's young, maybe going to college or maybe going to school in a later, but they must have a time wherein they are actually working out, whether it is part of a hobby. They have dancing as a hobby, they love it, they can do that. So there are a lot of, a lot of dance schools which are there. They can have, in case nothing else is there, then they should definitely walk for minimum period of 30 minutes at least 5 times in a week. And also, in case she's obese, they must make an extra effort to have proper food more frequently in a day rather than just 3 meals a day. So that means we tell them to eat like bhune hue chane, the chanas, right, all those things, but to eat something in portions every 2 hours. Don't get into the habit of the conventional eating habits of eating 3 meals, which would be major meals. We much rather encourage small portions which should be taken more frequently, and that really helps and goes a long way. Another thing, in case they have irregular periods, they must go on to a doctor and under the supervision be on oral contraceptive pills. Right. And the oral contraceptive pill, what the doctor will choose, will be according to what she sees and assesses in the patient. In case she has hair, hirsutism, acne, then accordingly the treatment can be given. Just these three things are important to do.
And that's really, really very helpful. Now let's move to infertility. What are the reasons behind the same?
Because in a polycystic ovarian patient, none of the eggs are getting matured. There are multiple follicles which are there, but they're not getting matured. And you want a mature follicle with a good egg formation which gets released, and that gets picked up by the fallopian tube, and which is where the sperm is going to meet and fertilize, and then that embryo has to come inside the uterine cavity. So it is that is important. So when the follicles are not there, obviously the infertility is there. These are the patients who require little help. And they are the ones where we have to give them ovulation induction and track the ovulation. Whether in a younger patient we may use. One very important thing what I realize is I like for a younger patient to just simply use an ovulation tracker in which you get to know which is the right time to have a contact with the spouse. And also, I tell them, in case a person has come from outside, maybe from not in Delhi or whatsoever, from a village or from America or whatever, we tell them use the kit which is there as an ovulation tracker. And also side by side, at least in case they're going to be in Delhi for a month, we tell them, okay, have an ovulation scan also. Because then they know exactly how the egg is growing. And we as a doctor also know that the egg is growing nicely, and also we can do side by side the tracking. So once they correlate the two, they have seen that my LH surge happened and my ovulation also happened. So they know that is the time to have a contact with the husband. And we tell them, we explain it to them, when you have to have a contact, do not stress upon your husband that this is the day to have a contact and you have to perform. Because that becomes like an examination point for the husband. So we just don't encourage all that. And in fact, we tell the young girls to try and make a romantic atmosphere, to take care of the husband and make sure the atmosphere is good so that they have a comfortable togetherness.
And ma'am, can you explain us what is the difference between primary and secondary infertility and what are the treatments for the same?
Primary and secondary infertility is primary is when a patient, when a girl is staying with a husband continuously for a year and having a regular contact, but she's not able to conceive. This is called primary infertility. In a secondary infertility, the patient or the girl has had a contact, has had a pregnancy. Whether it resulted in a delivery or an abortion is a different thing, but she did get pregnant and now she's not able to get pregnant. So anytime if such a thing happens, this is called secondary infertility.
And Dr. Sabharwal, usually it is seen that stress in infertile women is slightly on a higher side. So, how do they deal with it, and any stress busters to advise them?
You're absolutely right, because any infertile couple, both of them are under stress, husband and wife both. So I really tell them as a rule that they must have active time together. By that I mean they must exercise, go for walks together, which is the very, very positive thing to do. I don't tell them to hold hands and go, but they have to walk together. Then certain activities, if they're able to perform together, that also goes a long way. Yoga and meditation and pranayam, that is the yogic breathing, that again goes a long way for them to bust out the stress. And they should not, they have to work on themselves. And when I say work on themselves, means there will be external stresses of all kinds coming on. Are acha kya news hai and stuff like that. So, but they have to internally get stronger by doing a lot of internal meditation. I also call it a jap. They can just simply do a jap to give them strength. You pray. And once you pray, when you talk of something, when you want something, the things do get manifested. These days, you see very commonly people talking about manifestations of things that you want, which is true. And also not feel low about it. When you do these positive things, they give you those happy hormones. And once the happy hormones come, then you don't lag behind. Don't get laid back, be proactively managing, and happily so. Don't let yourself go down in the dumps, because stress is something which will take you down, and we don't want to do that. So, have these little positive things, doing things together, and moving on with your treatment, and don't leave it, even if you're having, things like abortions. Don't let it be. There are a lot of things happening, and science is also going a long way. And there are other things that we already discussed are there in front. So don't lose hope.
And, ma'am, infertility often comes with a lot of emotional and psychological challenges. So, how can one navigate through that while seeking treatment?
My God, this is such an important question, because, once a patient is trying to conceive and she doesn't conceive in that month in which she's tried, she will come to you almost like she's so depressed. She feels it's her own failure. And supposing in your test, in your workup, you realize that there is something amiss, whether in either partners. Mostly, it's amazing that something is amiss in both partners. So you can take it like that. But if there is some indication also, the person will take as it'll take very personally that it's only because of me that the pregnancy is not happening. And they'll feel so much full of guilt. And then that becomes like a vicious cycle. It becomes stressful for them. So the stress keeps mounting. It becomes like a vicious cycle, and they're not able to conceive, because it becomes, even the ovulation gets affected. So when you have stress, the cortisol level goes up. The milieu of the body changes, and even a normal egg formation also gets into a problem. So it will not happen. Now, such are the patients when we tell them that, okay, your ovulation is happening, and we'll tell them to take a break in that much time. Okay, you go for a holiday together and stuff like that. Because this is very important to know that these are the most sensitive people. And as doctors, you have to spend a lot of time with them. In fact, you have to also have time with the mother-in-law and the other family members, because we have to tell them that they have to be very sensitive. Because mind you, these are the girls whose friends have got pregnant, whose Dirani Jethani have got pregnant, and they're the ones who are still waiting. So every time it's like a failure for them, which really takes its toll. There are studies which have shown that in case they were to have, we have these meets, where such people, all the infertile couples do get together, even on online chats. So these chat groups are very important to share your problems with, and they know they're not the only ones. There are more people who are in the same group wherein they're having a problem, and they chat with each other as to how they're progressing and stuff.
So, ma'am, any preventive measures one can take to improve the chances of conception?
So they should be encouraged to take medical help. The doctor will automatically, very proactively manage the ovulation, would be telling them, would be on the same page as the couple, telling them what is the way to go through, how the good eggs are getting formed, and what is the right time. We normally land up using a lot of these ovulation trackers which we have, as well as ovulation scans depending on the age, etc. And that will help them to go through it. Of course, one very important thing is, supposing she has a tube test done. She's not conceived, she's having, the hormonal pattern has been sorted, she's having good eggs, but still she's not conceiving. So we will at the earliest put her through a way of at least testing the tubes, because ovaries are giving you good eggs, but they are also not getting picked up. Semen analysis is adequate because semen testing is very important.
So, Dr. Sabharwal, these days a lot of people are considering assisted reproductive technologies like IVF. So, what are the ethical considerations to be taken care of, and how do they make an informed decision?
It's a very, very important thing. And here is a couple who has been trying to get pregnant for so long. And now they are coming to a conclusion. Mind you, in today's world where there's so much stress around, you have people, you have to be very sure that you're going to be with each other, and they have to they have to be on the same page, because it is a very, very great responsibility to have a child through whatsoever. And they both must understand all the details of ART, which is going to be offered to them. In a PCOS case or any other case where the patient has decided to have an IVF, they must understand it's a joint responsibility. Because I will not, I will just give you an example of one thing. And in a case, I had a patient who had a little semen was not up to the mark. So we tried IUI. IUI is intrauterine insemination, but the patient did not conceive. And now they were thinking of ART. Now, when we were doing ART, now the patient, when they did have a child, you'll not believe it, that patient eventually had a separation. Why? Now, through the ART, they had a baby, and the baby was there, and now they should be a happy couple with a family. But the husband had, it had stuck in his mind that his sperm was not up to the mark, and maybe it is not his biological child. So all these things are so important to know, that it is what is it that you're going to be in. And mind you, this is our own patient who got a separation from the husband. So it was so sad that such a thing happened. So it is very important question that you've asked, and it is very important for anybody who's going for ART to understand that they must openly talk to the IVF specialist as to what is being offered to them and what is it that they're going to be doing, because this is a time when they're going to be having a baby, which is a big responsibility with so much of effort, whether it is monetary effort or a physical effort, or every time you're taking those injections, you're depleting. A mother also depletes. So this they must understand, because you're super ovulation. So you have set number of eggs to last you for this much. So you are making so many more eggs, and so many more eggs may not all get fertilized. So you are depleting also. So everything should be informed, and this consent should be between the two of them to have a baby. And they have to, like you said, they have to be very open minded by understanding every detail of that. Because once they have eggs, they have 8 eggs, 5 eggs, 10 eggs, they may have failed cycles one after the other. So the monetary concerns also have to be kept in mind. And then once they have failed things, supposing they were to get pregnant, now they have 5 eggs which are staying, 5 embryos with the ART specialist. What they're going to do about them? Because is the ART person going to keep them? What is going to be happening with them? Because this, today's world, you have to be very clear on these subjects as to what are those eggs. There was a time when embryos were being, used for other infertile couple. But whether you would even allow, of course, now there's a ban by the government. It cannot be done. But then this is a very, very important topic, that what is going to be done with the subsequently with the embryos. You understand? So the two of them, it has to be a very happy decision. And when the baby comes, it should be totally welcoming, and they should be so happy to have had that. We've in our family also had IVF babies, and I think today when we talk to the IVF specialist, they'll say any young couple doesn't even want to trouble. They will not get pregnant. They'll wait for 35 years of age, and then they say, okay. We have a lot of patients coming like that. I'm not joking. They'll just come. वो बोलेगी अभी नहीं करना, अभी wait करेंगे. We'll wait till 35. कोई बात नहीं, we'll wait. And when they come, they want immediate answers.
Right.
At least I tell them, okay, at least get your embryos frozen in case you're married. At least you know that this is the, now that is also another issue. Whether the same husband is going to be there after 4 years, that's another issue, which is really it has to be considered.
Right.
So whether they should freeze eggs or they should freeze embryos. And one important fact I would like to highlight here is when you freeze eggs, the yield means if you have frozen eggs, the yield is less than a frozen embryo. If you have embryos, you can get better yield. Means your YIELD, that yield is better in having from frozen embryos. But those frozen embryos, you should be there because there are certain religions, like I will not name it, but there are religions which bar them from that. Because that is a life, they cannot abort it. They cannot let an embryo go, because you have to eventually decide about the embryos once you finish your own family. अब तुमने 2 बच्चे पैदा कर लिए, then afterwards, what is going to happen to the embryos? So everything has to be thought of.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sabharwal. Your information has been highly, highly useful. And I think with this, it is clear that with right care and management, women with PCOD can live a very happy and healthy lives and can have successful pregnancies also. And if detected early, it can also prevent infertility. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in to Prega Talks. We hope today's session was really useful for you in terms of understanding about PCOD and how you can manage it, especially if you're planning pregnancy. Well, we'll come up with more such episodes where we talk about myths related to women's health. Till then, take care. Goodbye.